What's up guys, welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding, and today is going to be an awesome chest workout. And you might immediately recognize, if you watch this channel more often, that we're not in the usual gym, because I and my girlfriend have my own gym, 100% fit gym. It is in the Netherlands, in Best, that's what the city is called, pretty awesome. But now we are actually in a gym called Basic Fit. And why am I training here? Because I'm training together with my dad and my brother, and they live near this gym, and especially my dad usually trains in this gym. However, it's a chain, it's kind of a chain gym, so it's not a standalone gym, and that means that a lot of, it's a cheap gym, so a lot of people come there, mostly inexperienced people, and it makes it very busy during peak hours. So most people think you cannot really train properly in gyms like that. However, in reality, and the truth is, most people do train here, and they still want to be able to train, pretty good, in a good way at least, so you can actually achieve your bodybuilding goals. Now, I'm showing you in this video that even if you have limited equipment, because even though they have more equipment than smaller gyms, it's so busy you cannot use most of the equipment that you see most of the time. So what I was just gonna do when I walked into the gym is I first set out to do good, heavy compound movement to get this day started, and I didn't know that I was able to actually max out this machine right from the start. This is the final set, and we'll be able to hit 10 reps of this set number 5 with quite a lot of weight on this machine. It's a flat chest press, plate loaded, and the nice thing is I can actually have a neutral grip, as you can see, instead of a horizontal grip, and it will allow me to squeeze the chest even better. So not only am I able to go very heavy, I'm also able to stretch the chest at the bottom very nicely and contract the chest at the top very nicely without the shoulders being impinged at all. So sometimes when you do an inclined version of this machine, you might involve the shoulders a little bit. And next up is the incline bench press. Normally I like to do this on the Smith machine, but that wasn't possible. So you always have to stick as close as possible to the exercises you normally would do, even if it is busy, so you just replace it with something else. I honestly haven't done the incline bench press in like more than 6 months, because I started to feel my front delt, especially the right front delt actually. That's the one I feel very much hurting on this exercise, especially when I'm going heavy. So that's why I'm starting out nice and light. 15 reps, a nice warm-up going all the way down, really making sure all the blood is where it is supposed to be, so you can actually really focus on the chest and not so much on the front delts, which you cannot get away from training them when doing this machine, when doing this exercise, but you really want the chest to be the main focus of this for sure. I honestly never train the front delts because of the fact that I already train them quite a lot automatically when doing chest. So you really, if you do an exercise like this, don't want to neglect the focus from the chest and do it in the front delts, because that is not what we're training right now. What I like to do on this incline bench press, my grip, if you saw me doing it in the previous clip right there and a clip after this, my grip is actually a little more narrow compared to what it used to be. It used to be a lot more wide, allowing me to stretch the chest at the bottom even more. But what I'm doing now is I'm protecting the shoulders a little bit by making the grip more narrow, and I'm adding some more tricep work instead of pure chest and front delt work, because my triceps are actually a weak point and my chest is a strong point. So I don't anymore have to do this exercise to maximize the chest activation. Some triceps can be involved, and it has definitely helped making my triceps grow and get more full, because they are a secondary muscle that helps with pushing this weight upwards. And if you have a slightly more narrow grip, the more triceps will be involved, and it will save your shoulder. So for me personally, that is the best thing to do. And this set right here is a back off set, which means I do 20% less weight than the top or the heaviest set that I do, and then do as many reps as possible in a different rep range. So I like to do as many reps as possible to failure in around 8+ rep range, and in the around 15 plus minus rep range. That way you train the muscle in different rep ranges, targeting, the muscle from, a different way, getting a better pump, adding more metabolites to the muscle, getting a good blood flow there, and at the same time combining it with progressive overload and the maximum amount of tension. And now we're going to do what I usually would do, is actually belt squat dips, and that means basically bodyweight dips and putting a belt around you with extra weight. We cannot do that in this gym, so what I like to do then is some machine dips. This actually allows you to really focus on the contraction and the stretch of the chest. With bodyweight dips, you can only really focus on the stretch at the bottom, which is the most important part of the motion when you want to have a muscle grow. But when you get the contraction in there, you can definitely make it even more beneficial for total growth and getting an even better pump. Here you can see what I mean when I take off the Vintage Genetics hoodie, which you can purchase on the website vintagegenetics.com. You can see, of course, the details in the chest. So when I'm going all the way up, you can see the striations getting there, and that's what you want to see all the way up until the upper chest, so you know that you are actually stretching the chest the proper way. And when you go all the way down, which you can see right here, you can also see again the striations and the contraction happening. So you want both of those to happen in one rep. If one of those doesn't occur, the rep is simply not full range of motion, and you simply should reconsider how you are training. I've been doing this for a very long time now, year after year, and I can literally feel if I'm doing the exercise correctly without having to look anymore. But for some people who are especially are beginning or starting out, it is very good to record yourself and actually see objectively if you are going all the way up and all the way down for proper, fully developed muscles. And this machine, I kind of max it out with the amount of weight. I believe it was 95 kilograms. We did at least 10 reps with that, so I had to go even heavier. So I went to a unilateral movement, simply using one arm at a time. And that way you can actually start all over again, progressing. So you can literally cut the weight in half and then add a little bit of weight to make it heavier than the previous one. So now it is 50 kilograms. With both arms it would have been 100 kilograms. So with one arm, 50 kilograms feels a heck of a lot harder than that previous set felt. So it's again a more difficult set for progressive overload. Then the dumbbell flies. Once again, I would have normally done cable flies, but of course, when you cannot do cable flies, dumbbell flies is a very, very good alternative. Why? Because the stretch here is phenomenal. The contraction, however, isn't as great, because you can see that I'm not going all the way up. I'm going up like 90% and skipping the last 10%, because there you simply don't have the tension caused by the weight. Then you would have to tense up your chest by yourself, but there's no tension of the weight behind that contraction. So it's really no use to go all the way up. And that's what Kane's doing here as well. You go all the way down. The stretch portion of the rep is what matters, guys. That's what makes your chest grow. The same thing with the back, the same thing with pretty much any other muscle. It's the maximum amount of stretch you can get within a rep that causes the most growth. So that's what you want to do. Then you want to go as far up as possible until you feel the tension disappear. Because if you do go all the way up, then you would neglect the time under tension principle. You don't want the time under tension to disappear at the top. You want that to be all throughout the entire set, so that the entire workout is as efficient as possible. You want to adhere to all those principles that build muscle. Don't cheat by going all the way up, pausing for a second, getting a break, getting a rest, and then going down again. If you are forced to do that, then the weight is simply too heavy. What you want to strive for is to suffer under the tension, under the buildup of lactic acid, and know that through that suffering you will build the maximum amount of quality muscle. Here with the dumbbell flies, I'm not going as heavy, not even half of the weight I would use with a regular dumbbell press. So that tells you that the difficulty of this exercise is much greater than a press. And why is it much greater? Because I'm not using any tricep here at all. It's an isolation movement, which means only the chest is pretty much working during this exercise. You know, a little bit of front delt, it's almost impossible to get rid of that involvement in this movement, but you really isolate the chest as the lactic acid and the pump is incredibly building up as you're doing this exercise. And when you then get a spotter, you can get that 1 or 2 extra reps out there to really finish off that movement. So after doing 4 chest exercises, it is time for the V-bar pushdown. We're going to do 4 sets of this, but we're only going to do 2 tricep exercises in total in this workout, which is why I'm adding an extra set to a pushdown like this. Normally it would only be 3 sets, but the first set is to really get used to the movement, kind of to warm up the elbows especially. Even though we did quite a lot of chest exercises already, you would expect the elbows to be warmed up, but simply you never can be safe enough warming up with an exercise. There are so many people who have trouble with tendonitis and elbow pain and stuff like that, that I cannot afford not to warm up, because it doesn't take any effort. You only go through the motion, get some more blood in the area that you're working, and save yourself from a lot of pain in the future. It may take a few more minutes during each workout, but it's a very great investment to keep those tendons, those elbows, those joints very healthy. So what I'm doing here is I'm going against what most personal trainers say in the gym, that you only should go upwards 90 degrees with your forearms as opposed to the upper arms. What I'm doing here is I'm going higher than 90 degrees for sure. And most personal trainers will tell you that is the wrong way to go. However, when you know what you're doing and when you know how to maximize the muscle within an exercise, then you know that you are doing the right thing. Don't listen to people like that, because I did listen to those the first few years that I was training, and I could have gotten a lot more out of those movements than I did back then. So why am I going up higher? Because you want to maximize the stretch of the muscle that you are working. Obviously, you don't want to go too heavy if you're not used to this movement yet. So really pay attention to the mind-muscle connection. When you go higher, slightly higher than 90 degrees, you can literally see, if you look at my tricep, you can see that when my forearm goes higher than 90 degrees, the tricep is still moving into a further stretched position. And that's what you want to maximize hypertrophy. And then the last tricep movement of the day. Again, talking about tendonitis in the elbows, some people have, a lot of trouble with that when doing this exercise. So what I'm doing is not just a regular skull crusher, but I'm doing a French press. The difference is that if you do a skull crusher, the name says it, you would let the barbell go towards your forehead, aka your skull, as it would crush your skull if you didn't stop it. That's what the name comes from. However, if you want to maximize this movement on the muscle and not the joint, you want to go it behind your head. You want to let it go behind your head to stretch those triceps to the max. You can see that right here. The upper arm is also moving a little bit because the tricep is attached to the shoulder joint, which means that the long head, if you keep it really static and stable, would not be stretched as much as it could be stretched if you move that upper arm. So I'm moving the upper arm when I'm going behind my head to maximize that stretch, and again to maximize the signal that my brain is going to receive that that muscle needs to grow as it's failing under that enormous stretch. And then again, just like I did at the incline bench press, this is a back off set, taking about 20% less weight and then doing as many reps as I can through a different rep range as the previous top set. Anyway guys, I want to thank you for watching, and don't forget to stay golden.